Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
The fuse is short for us to continue being nice. Us protesting is us being nice. Us striking is us being nice. Us boycotting their companies is us being nice. And they need to understand that at some point, if they keep ignoring us, they meaning leaders on both sides and the legal levers that should and could stop this, there's going to come a time when we're going to stop being nice.
The idea that I was presenting to some of right-wing friends when I used to have them, that yeah, they've all gone. The idea that you providing SNAP or you providing a decent schooling for people, decent jobs, minimum wage, all of these things you would call, I'm talking to them now, would call a handout. It is a nanny state. These are things that you feel that shouldn't be done, and people who can make it will make it, and those who don't fall off by the wayside. And I said, it's because you don't understand the interconnectedness of humanity. You see, you really believe that that gate means something. You really believe that that river and that lake you live by and that side of the mountain and that beautiful forest means something to you until you realize that no one else around you has anything to eat, has any recourse, or any education. And all of a sudden, your mountain will need to get higher and higher and higher before the interconnectedness of humanity falls upon you and breaks down that gate, fills up that water, and crushes whatever things you have think make you different. And if you just take that idea to the political, where we are now, there's only so much recourse, marching, there's only so much that you're going to have, whether we do it or not. So it's not meant as a threat. It's just meant to back up what Cliff was saying. There's only a certain amount of time where people who are hungry or people who are left out or people who see their whatever it is they used to have being taken from them from an unknown doge, from some unelected people, before it gets beyond where you're going to be able to stop it. Right. And my goal or my hope is, how do we impart that onto these fine and decent people in Congress that includes their gate? Like, doesn't matter what side they're on. That includes their gate. That includes their lawn and their home and their Capitol building. If they didn't notice that on the 6th, it's not hard. It's not hard to find. And if they don't do something about that, that imaginary gate that they have will not stop what's coming if they don't join in with the peaceful side of it. That's my big question. How do we impart that to them? Because it seems like that part goes over their head. That idea that they're a part of this on the good or the bad side.
I have one idea that I think is a pretty good one, and then I'll let somebody else talk. One of my ideas, I think is the best idea I've had during this whole madness, is, we've had these 50-51 protests. That's in every state capital in every state in the United States. That's the first time that's ever happened in the history of our country that people have gathered in every state to protest a sitting president. Never happened before. And not only were they in every state capital, in some states, they were in almost every city. Yesterday, when this happened again, they were in small towns. I mean, a couple thousand people in towns under 100,000 in population, all over the country. And almost no one in the media is covering it at all. So I think something that could really make a difference is the next time we do that, instead of going to our state capitals, We go see Fox News at 1211 Avenue of the Americas in Midtown Manhattan. Thousands of us. We go to Newsmax at 750 Park of Commerce Drive in Boca Raton, Florida. Thousands of us. We go to CNN at 190 Marietta Street Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. Thousands, 10,000, however many. And our signs say, ignore us when we're outside your fucking window. Excuse my language, Jessica. And that needs to be the energy is, can you see us now? Because you didn't want to report on it when we were at every state capital in this country that you're supposed to cover. Can you cover it now that we're outside your fucking door and we're beside your car in your parking lot and we're blocking your parking lot and we're blocking your road and we're banging on the doors of the front lobby? Can you see us now? And I think that is a ballsy, in your face statement that's not violent, but it is set to make people a little uncomfortable because they deserve to be. They deserve to be uncomfortable because they're being cowards and they're not being journalists and they're not standing up for the citizens of this country, and they need to feel uncomfortable, like, because we do every day.
It's certainly never been the case that you get any change by letting people be comfortable, by letting people do what they want and just, throwing your opinion out there. If you're not obstructing, if you're not getting into people's faces with it, if you're not bringing your message to them, they're going to ignore you. Why would they listen to you otherwise? If it's convenient for them to just go, yeah, whatever, going about their day, it ain't going to change.
Yeah.
When I was temporarily muted and you guys took over, you mentioned that you're having a protest plan for March 14th. Is that right?
That's right. Well, that's kind of how Cliff and I got to know each other. We were both in the same, space of consciousness between the election and January 6th. Like, first of all, we should have the guts to do some election hygiene and make sure Trump actually won, for God's sakes. And number two, he's constitutionally disqualified. This has ever changed. So I spoke about this extensively on my show Lights On with constitutional scholars. Bottom line, the man remains disqualified. That is not a status that has been removed. It would take a vote of 2/3 of Congress to do it. It has not been done. He's an illegal president. Everything he does is illegal. Cliff was involved with me before January 6th. We were in D.C. We spearheaded these protests trying to get Congress to uphold their oath and block the certification of Donald Trump, because that is and was their duty. And they failed, every single one of them, across the aisle. Such a disgusting tragedy. But my God, what are we, 3.5 weeks in, 4 weeks in? And it's just like, the Constitution's on fire. This has to be stopped. And so I've been involved in the 50-50 protests. I was in DC yesterday at the Capitol, spoke and kind of did a soft launch, and we're getting the same core group of organizers together, but hopefully with much more amplification this time. We need millions of people in DC on March 14th. The inverse of 14.3, which is 14th Amendment, Section 3, 314. So we're going to do this again on 314 in Washington, D.C. I would say that what's different about this march is we've got to use every legal lever to get this man out of office now, right now. We cannot just resist this for the next 4 years. This man has to go. He committed impeachable offenses on day one. He is an illegal president. He has got to go. So, that's the messaging I'm pushing 100%. I think Cliff's on board.
Yeah, and I just to sort of tack onto that, I think we've got, there's several things happening right now. There's this economic blackout on the 28th. There's the generalstrikeus.com where they're trying to get people to sign up for a general strike, and then that's going to actually start to take place once enough people are on board. There's all these things happening, and I know that we're going to do the March 14th protest. There's other protests I'm sure that are happening. At the end of the day, I feel like the fuse is pretty short. I'm trying to word this in the most online safe way. The fuse is short for us to continue being nice. Us protesting is us being nice. Us striking is us being nice. Us boycotting their companies is us being nice. And they need to understand that at some point, if they keep ignoring us, they meaning leaders on both sides and the legal levers that should and could stop this, there's going to come a time when we're going to stop being nice. And everyone on both sides of this issue needs to understand that and really use their imaginations as to what that could mean.
Do you guys remember, what was it, about 2018, 2019, when the whole Boogaloo boys were doing their protests at the state capitals, and they were showing up in their tactical manatee gear? Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase it. They were showing up with their rifles and plate carriers and little helmets and walkie-talkies and Hawaiian shirts. You guys remember that? The pictures?
Oh, yeah.
I do, because we posted about it on our Facebook page, and we got goon swarmed by Boogaloo boys. They were like, "You can't talk about us that way." So actually, that just encourages more. Anyway, what do you guys think about what if the left started doing something like that? Just, showing up to protests peacefully, but in states where it's permitted, they're armed. If they want to be. Like,
it's a great
you don't
idea.
have to show up. Like, don't show up if you don't, if you're not comfortable with that. But obviously, if you are, then, and the reason that I say that is because, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You were talking first.
The reason that I say that is because you were talking about what can we do to get them to pay attention. And the thing that I remember from those protests was these guys were ass mad about something. I can't remember exactly what it was. I knew at the time what they were protesting, but it was the fact that they showed up and they stood on the steps of the state capitol and nobody messed with them. Not anybody on the left, not the cops. They didn't have a license to protest. They hadn't a permit or any of that. They just showed up and they stood there. And that was it. That's all they did. They protested and nobody messed with those guys. And at the time, everyone was like, these guys are protesting with their guns. Well, what are they talking about? And then, that was the thing. I think they were protesting.
You can do that. You can do that in places other than DC. Definitely don't bring weapons to Washington, DC.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But,
when we did the
but I want to say something just real quick.
Anyway, we said that.
Yeah, but what Cliff said the other day, which I think is an excellent idea, people need to be showing up in their law enforcement uniforms, in their military uniforms. Like, we need to show I know that we are backed by so many people who serve this country, who don't want any part of this. They need to show, you know how many federal workers were at the Capitol yesterday, like coming out, putting their jobs on, putting everything on the line, saying, I'm here, I'm a federal worker. Let's have the members of our military come to these protests. Here, Cliff, clarify what your suggestion was the other day.
So I only know this actually from talking to Tim and some other veteran friends, is that active duty, like part of the rules they have to abide by is that they have to be politically neutral. So like an active duty lower ranking officer can't show up to any political protest in uniform. But what I was thinking a two-part strategy, and let me kind of start at the beginning. Reason I think this is so profound and so important is because I do think there's going to come a time. I don't think that we're entering oligarchy. We're in it. I don't think we're entering dictatorship. We're in it. They are ignoring laws. They are firing important people. Nuclear inspectors, flight safety people, like 3,500 park rangers yesterday. The inspectors generals of all of the departments and organizations that root out fraud. So this is, and we all know this, but I'm saying this for the average viewer. Obviously, DOJ isn't to root out fraud. They're getting rid of everybody that would audit fraud.
Right. We
are fully in autocracy right now, and it's a game plan and a playbook, and they're going step by step. And so far, it's working, and no one is stopping them. So I do think that they're gonna push enough buttons. They take away enough veterans benefits. They take away enough social safety net from people. Prices get high enough, et cetera, et cetera. There's gonna be a tipping point where the American people are going to show up in scary numbers that scare them. They won't scare us, but they will scare the people who are in power. And I think they are going to want to use the military against the American people. And I think we need to be preemptive about showing them that it won't work, showing them and showing our allies around the world and showing our general citizenry that, hey, even if they try, it's not going to work, because look here, 10,000 uniformed veterans just showed up to DC last week saying that they oppose this presidency. And the other part of it, so I'm advocating for a uniformed veterans protest.
Are you all ready for this fight? Yeah. You all ready to lock in? Yeah. We are not giving up this country without a fight. Isn't that right? We will not give up on our people and the institutions and the programs and the services that help people live their lives without a fight. So if they want us to go down, they should know we are not going down without the biggest fight they have ever seen. This moment is bigger than any one of us. This moment takes all of us, but we will win. So listen to me very carefully, because we have very specific instructions in this moment. And I don't say this as a Democrat. I don't say this as a person with any sort of specific political views in this moment. I say this as an American who has sworn an oath to the United States Constitution. And as someone who cares about this Constitution and who cares about this country, we have an obligation to resist kings. We have an obligation to resist oligarchs. We have a sworn duty to this nation to resist oligarchy, including any billionaire that tries to undermine our Constitution. America is not for sale.
Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on pd.groovechillradio.com daily and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.